Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome to Satsang. Happy solstice. This longest day of the year, the celebration of light, of warmth, of nature. I hope you have the opportunity to get outside and enjoy this beautiful day wherever you are. Some of you I can see are outside. So I invite you to turn on your microphone if you want to share something. Oh, and also wish those of you to whom this applies a happy Father's Day. Some of you are fathers. Some of us are fathers. In spiritual life, you know, the symbol or the metaphor of the father is really the one of the names or one of the metaphors used to represent the all or the everything. This is why Yogi Ram Sarat Kumar used to say, all of this is the Father. Everything is the Father. Nothing is outside of the Father. Jesus used to say, I and the Father are one, also indicating that the pinnacle of realization is the recognition that you are one with the eternal. You don't need to call it the Father. You can just recognize that within your own being, within your own being, there is this place of unity, of oneness. This is the Supreme. So if you feel to share, if you have a question about the inquiry, you feel to share something about your experience, please turn on your microphone and feel free to share. Hello, Kamal.
Is it too loud?
Yeah, it's pretty loud from your end. Yeah, you can probably drop that. Very good.
Maybe I close the window. Just a moment. Just a moment. It's too loud. I'm now in the middle of the city, Kolkata city.
Thank you.
Just a moment.
For those of you who've never been, you've just had a taste of India.
Now it's better.
A little, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry about this. Uh, as I joined your satsang today, it was so strong, the anxiety and the heartbeat, and it was at the loudest. Before I could attend the satsang, I was sitting. It was so loud that maybe it has been before when I really started to recognize in my life. But because now I have come back to the place where I've been staying for many years in my family home, and it's quite loud outwardly also, inside here also. So just here, because the whole day what goes on is that generally it's always watching TV, everybody. So, and I also find myself sitting there quite often.
I'm watching TV.
And it really, I can feel that. So, whatever may the reason be, right now it became so loud, the anxiety and the heartbeat, it was at the loudest. And then, so I had to come in. I was sitting inside all by myself and I was watching from this silent place. And I have asked you this question, I think, many times before also about this anxiety which is arising from my bottom of my belly. This pain, anxiety, fear, all that, and especially the anxiety, it's so loud. What I am recognizing, I would say, that it is coming, going, changing. I am the one who's watching, but it is still so loud. That is why still it does make an effect on the body and mind. And there's even a desire, so-called desire to be free of this undercurrent of this anxiety or pain. It feels as if this is a seat of ego, which is so noisy. So I think I've asked you before also, and again now because I'm here. But there's more peace, great, a lot of peace, a lot of distance, and I am more recognizing from my isness, from my true self. Everything is passing. It's not touching so much, but still this noise is so much there. in the
Yes.
system. So
Yes.
just wanted to bring this forward, and I don't know.
Yes. This is points to a very important recognition, Kamal, and this is that while we are able to still touch this peace within ourselves, even in difficult circumstances, we can still be the outward noises and the inner anxiety can still be disturbing for a long period of time after we've touched this silence within our own being. So, what to do, eh? Yeah. You know, the reason that we practice this way of being, this recognition, I am aware, even here now, under these circumstances, is because then what we are doing is we are making this firm foundation. We're not attacking the outside. We're not trying to change everything that's going on outside. We're not even trying to change what's happening in the body. We're really asking we're really asking this question, am I the body? Am I the experiences of the senses of hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, seeing? Am I these experiences? Or is there something else?
Before, the same experiences would take me over, I would be identified with it and I would react, and I would also uh, put it towards the outside phenomena that yes, this is the reason, that is the reason. But today, it has completely changed, that there's so much trust in the heart that I am here in the right place, in the right moment. And it's just my this reaction inside, and I am the watcher.
Yes.
It
Yes.
This has completely turned upside down,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it is in a way, even in the most strong throbbing moment, there was this trust and clarity that I am this, but still it was so loud that I had to be just, and then along with that loudness, something was trying to bring fear because of this reaction, because of this movement. But that was also seeing that, and in that moment, what happened, that there was this even understanding that I am the one which cannot be touched. It cannot, nothing can happen. Even the, if the so-called death has to come. But this was there, but still, I would say, all this was there, this seeing, this understanding, but still it was so loud. But this time it has changed. I'm not accusing anybody outwardly or even the body and mind, but still this. And in this moment also, I can see where it is coming from. It's from the bottom
Beautiful.
of my belly. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Very good. So, what you're pointing toward here is the way that as we return to the source, if we are paying attention, we can see step by step how we go from the grosser forms, which are the outside things that are happening, through the sense doors. We penetrate into the heart of being. And as we're doing that, the things which we didn't notice before, the subtle holdings on, the subtle anxieties, the subtle fears, which are associated with this body mind, they become crystal clear. and they can even become amplified in that time. So this may be what you're experiencing, is the way that once the attention, once the sense of being is turned directly back to the source, then it becomes much more obvious, these very subtle currents that were going on. Now they're not so subtle. Now they look like they're huge. They can even look brand new just because we've never seen them before. I think that you have. We've talked about this before. But for those of you who haven't, just know that as you go more and more into this recognition, and you hold more and more firmly to this recognition, that which is aware is here now, it is always here, then you can have this kind of experience that Kamal is having, where you begin to see all of the subtle layers and all of the subtle textures of this whole story of me, from the exterior to the most subtle realms of the interior mind. So keep going. And in some ways, I can even say, as you begin to see these more and more subtle aspects of conditioning, these are not aspects of being, consciousness, and bliss. These are aspects of conditioning. And of course, one of the tendencies that people have is when we start to see these kinds of very subtle conditionings, there's this tendency, and I'm not saying that you are doing that, Kamal, but just explaining it for others. There is this tendency to think that this must be related to something, and begin to look for the root of that in our childhood, in our experience, in our past somewhere, in our relationships with our parents, in our relationships with the world, to begin to look for what is the source of this. But this is a fool's errand. The causes and conditions for anything that arises in a body and mind are really unknowable. So it's like a ball of yarn, which has many threads coming out of it. If you pull on any one of those threads, you will spend a long time trying to pull that thread out of the ball of yarn, and you may never get there. Why? Because as you're pulling inside the ball of yarn, the yarn is getting tighter. So you are looking for something which you cannot resolve. So this is why in the practice of awareness or consciousness or inquiry, the recommendation is to do what you are doing and to continue, to just stand still, to notice, oh yeah, this is a lot of anxiety, this is very loud, as you put it. And then at the same time, as you did, just to keep acknowledging, I am that which is aware of this. All of this is happening. It is challenging. It is difficult, right? Noise from outside in the big city like you are in, this can be very challenging. This kind of disturbance interiorly from the subtle mind can also be very disturbing. But the sages have said, and experience shows us, that as we recognize, yes, this is going on, and I am here with it, but I am not it. I am that which is aware of it. This is the way. This is the path. And eventually this will break down, this tendency to, if there is a tendency remaining, to make an assumption about who I am based on the experience of body, mind, or world. This tendency breaks down because this is a conditioned tendency. And as soon as we start to unfold this tendency, it starts to lose its power. And so this is why we ask the question, who am I? Or what is experiencing this? Or what is thinking this? Or what is feeling this in the body? What is aware of this is the primary question. And we don't just ask what is aware of this and then say I am. We say, what is aware of this? The answer may come, I am. But then the question naturally arises, who am I? And we look for this imagined personality, this imagined sense of I. And we see that nothing exists there. And yet, awareness is here, even in the face of the acknowledging of the emptiness and the nothingness of the experience of me. Once that is gone, there is still this recognition of Sat, Chit, Ananda, being, consciousness, and bliss. That is what is here. It can be said as the foundation of everything. So continue, just continue.
You were asking that when this arises, this moment, what I what is happening, that instead of making inquiry, what I am finding myself to just remain still, and this subsides. Like the moment I'm sitting still, there's more and more stillness.
Yes,
It just automatically I come back like this,
yes,
without trying to even inquire, and it's happening the whole day. Like actually, uh, I'm moving around and I'm like as if I'm stillness, but it's still there's outwardly anxiety and all that is playing, but still the stillness is more and more recognized without effort or without inquiry to so to
yes.
is
Beautiful.
it, does it make sense like what
Yes,
I
of
mean?
course. Yes, of course. Very much so, because ultimately, uh, the the most potent form of inquiry is the silence itself. The silence before the question, who am I? Or am I aware? Or what is aware? These are forms that the mind uses until one penetrates into the silence which you're speaking about. And that begins to be the foundation from which everything is viewed, we can say. Once that has occurred, then there's no longer any need for the mental uh, remembrance. If you are able to just simply fall into the silence of your own being, and from that place to allow everything to come, to be present as long as it wishes, and then to go, then this is the silent form of inquiry, the most potent form of inquiry. This is the stillness of being.
Yes, this stillness is felt like more than so-called silence, is more like there's a stillness which is here even in the mist, or even when I'm not so conscious, but stillness is here. And sometimes when it gets loud, but still a subtle stillness is always here.
Yes, beautiful. Hari Om. Yes, Hari Om. What else can be said? One of the big changes that happens as we continue is that as we, in the past, we have always looked at something which arises in body, mind, or world, and then we move toward it. But as we become more stable and more mature in our practice, then what begins to happen is that when an object grabs at our attention, This happens naturally, by the way, through the sense doors, right? Through sound, taste, touch, or mind, physical sensation in the body. These are all the sense doors. It's natural before recognition of the self as being consciousness and bliss. Through conditioning, attention just moves toward the object. But once there's a recognition that all objects, whether they are in the physical world, or they are in the mind, or they are in the body, or in the reactive nature of emotion, no matter where the emotions are arising, they are outside of this stillness. Once this is seen very clearly, then this reactivity, this natural prior state of conditioning, which moves us toward an object, instead reminds us to fall back into the stillness. In this place, every single object that rises in body, mind, or world, every single phenomenon, then becomes like a bell of mindfulness. So we experience anxiety, where before we might wrestle with that in some way. Where is this coming from? I don't like this. I need to get away from this. What can I do? How can I stop this? Instead, we just fall back away from it. We don't reach out and grab it with the mind, with the emotions. We just don't reach out and grab it. We can allow it to be there, but by not grasping it, it's free to go when its time is done. We are not holding it by saying, I don't like this, I don't want this. You see, the Buddha was very clear. He said very clearly, whatever you resist persists, right? That's our modern way of putting it. You've all heard that. Whatever we resist persists. Well, the Buddha said, if you want to be free of all passing phenomenon, simply don't cling to them. He didn't say push them away, get rid of them, suppress them. He said, see them clearly for what they are, some response at some sense door, mind, body, or world, and just don't touch. Don't touch. So what we are doing, one can say, in a way, this is just a way of putting it into words, is we are reconditioning this mind, which has been conditioned to go out toward objects and out toward phenomenon, and now we are retraining it in a way. Every time we come back through the inquiry into this silence, whether it's a silent inquiry or the remembrance, I am that which is aware here now, either way, we are reconditioning the mind so that whenever it wants to stretch out strongly into a phenomenon, an object, in the tendency in the past has been to get caught in that, now we back up in a way. So we recondition that. And then over time, we become very stable in that ability to just rest in that stillness and let the objects and the phenomenon come and go, whether it's phenomenon in the world, phenomenon in the body, phenomenon in the mind. We're just letting everything flow in its natural way, and the recognition is simply awareness is here in all of this. And there's a deep relaxation that comes with this. A loss of fear, a loss of the anxiety. But for a long period of time, it may continue to come. Even after we've recognized that the way is to remain in this still space, or retreat to that still space, or fall back into that still space. These things continue to come. Understand that realization has nothing to do with the prarabdha karma of the body. Even after full realization, the sages have always said, what the sage recognizes is that nothing truly exists except being, consciousness, and bliss, except awareness itself. This is the only thing that actually really, not even a thing, this is what actually exists. Being, consciousness. And so everything else is just passing through this field of conscious awareness. And when you come to understand this completely, then you will rest. But the phenomenon that are related to why this body was born, why you took this birth, they may go on for some period of time. The secret is don't become lost in them anymore. As soon as you have the stability to become not to become lost in them anymore, but rather just to fall back into this recognition that awareness is here under all circumstances, then this foundation strengthens. It's not important anymore what's coming or going. It just has to play itself out. In fact, there's even a celebration of it, right? One can say, "Oh yes, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Whatever has to be cleared out in this lifetime, let's clear it out. Let's do this. Let's complete this. Let's not have anything to carry over at the end of this body. Let's not carry anything over." So then you can say, "Oh, okay, let's do this now. Let's finish this." Oh yeah, thank you, James. James is always reminding me that I need to use the word phenomena. Not. I will get it one of these days, James. Keep reminding me. It's just conditioning. It's the habit of misusing a word. Hello, James.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of piggyback on what you're saying. Is I remember years ago hearing from the Christian tradition, something mystical Christian tradition, something along the lines of the closer a person is to God, the more they feel like a worthless sinner. And you know, to translate that, a little bit from my own experiences, the more deeply I feel rested, the more in being, the more any action, word, thought, reaction, experience, whatever, anything that is not aligned with that, it you feel it much more strongly than you would otherwise if there wasn't the resting in being.
Yes.
It's sort of like the system becomes more finely attuned, and it's kind of like sandpaper against the nervous system.
Yes.
If you say a harsh word or something out of reaction, when there's that deeper resting, so I just wanted to say that.
Yes, it becomes more obvious, doesn't it? In some way.
Painfully obvious
Painfully
often.
obvious. Yeah.
By comparison to the deeper resting.
Yeah. And it's that recognition which is actually the motivation for us to keep going. Because it shows us that there is still some hidden place in us where some kind of reactivity can happen. And that we react before we catch it. It just happens, boom. And so we have to be
Right.
very kind. Yeah, we have to be very kind with this painful recognition. Yeah. Hello,
Can you
Pooja.
hear me?
It's going in and out, but let's go ahead and give it a try.
Yeah, I have a very bad here, so let's see. Uh, like, I don't know exactly what to say, but I remember I brought something up in the last satsang, and afterwards, I noticed that I was actually facing it in a personal way, something related responsibility and fear of responsibility, or basically fear. And then I could see that there was like a kind of, I'm taking a shape into someone that needs to face this fear. Many times it happens like this, instead of just being with it, which I've heard you advising me sometimes to just sit with it, with this fear, and as awareness, just be with it. Clearly, that instead of that, the suggestion, maybe you should just go towards a challenging situation in life, or I don't know, learn something new, just really overcome this fear. And then it's clear somehow. Although these circumstances, they kind of also are good opportunities. Like we can now, like Kamal is speaking from a big city, or from, maybe, I don't know if I can say that, but it's a place where there's a lot of, not such a peaceful mind state, maybe, or a lot of interference. So it's just this. I come to realize that the biggest challenge is really like just resting as the self, and then the circumstances will just fall as the challenges will come. They need to.
Yes, there's a great
And
power. There's a great power in
yeah,
this attitude, Puja, where we just allow everything to be as it is, and we realize that whatever we need to learn, endure, encounter, um, all of this is also the supreme. And so, yes, we just engage in this practice of remaining as we are in our deepest sense.
there is
Yes.
sometimes there is a place that you have to, there's an initiative, there's a step to be made or something. And I don't know if I have the right discernment for it at the moment. Because it also feels that everything, I don't know, this rest is like nothing needs to really be, it's like just witnessing, and it feels like it's all done and it's happening by itself. And sometimes it comes this, you have to, and this initiative doesn't come out of fear but out of the heart, when it is in tune, really in tune. That's what I'm seeing.
Yes.
It doesn't come like it comes more with an openness and simplicity, and thing of overcoming or something like that. It's a sense of strain.
Yes. Yes, the end of seeking does not mean that things will not still happen, that movement won't have to be made, that steps won't have to be taken. The end of seeking is the freedom to dance the dance as we find it. All right. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Richor Mukshya Mamritawa Swaha Bhuva Bhu Om Sat Jung Hang Om. I wish you all a lovely summer. Namaste. Much love, much joy, much peace.